A billionaire freezes in shock. His daughter, dressed in her pristine private school uniform, is kneeling in the dirt, learning math from a homeless girl. Her hands are covered in dust, but her eyes shine brighter than the sun. Behind a torn notebook lies more than lessons. It holds a secret powerful enough to shatter reputations or save lives. And when the truth comes out, nothing will ever be the same. I never imagined my life would change because of a single girl. My name is Sophia Anderson, daughter of Richard Anderson, one of the wealthiest men in Los Angeles. People think my life is perfect. Expensive clothes, the best tutors, a mansion with gates taller than trees. But what no one knew was this: I was failing, badly. No matter how much money my father threw at tutors, I couldn't understand math, science, or even basic literature. My classmates whispered behind my back, "She's only passing because her dad pays for it." They weren't wrong. I felt stupid, invisible, and alone. But then she appeared. Her name was Emily. She was about my age, maybe 12, but she didn't wear polished shoes or a neat blazer. Instead, she had torn sneakers, a faded hoodie, and a backpack that looked like it had survived 100 battles. She lived on the streets, just outside the gates of my school. I first saw her one afternoon when I hid near the courtyard, embarrassed after another failed test. Emily was crouched near the fence, scribbling numbers on a scrap of cardboard with the stub of a pencil. She muttered formulas under her breath, solving them faster than I ever could. Curiosity pushed me closer. "Do you actually understand that?" I asked. She looked up. Her eyes were sharp, confident. "Of course. Want me to show you?" That was the beginning of my secret. Every lunch break, I would sneak out to the far side of the schoolyard, near the big iron gate where the guards rarely looked. There, Emily would teach me. Fractions, equations, grammar. Things my 200 an hour tutor couldn't make me understand, Emily explained in minutes. She used simple examples: pizza slices, bus tickets, even the cracks in the sidewalk. She turned the world into a classroom. I laughed for the first time in months when she said, "Math is like street food. Looks messy, but if you taste it, it's actually simple." Still, a fear lingered. What if my father found out? Richard Anderson was strict, powerful, and obsessed with appearances. If he discovered that his only daughter was being tutored by a homeless girl, I knew he'd put an end to it immediately. But I couldn't stop. Because for the first time, I wasn't failing. I was learning. And Emily wasn't just teaching me numbers. She was teaching me hope. Every day she shared bits of her life. She slept in a cardboard shelter under a bridge. Her mom was mentally ill, wandering the streets, talking to shadows. Emily sold bottled water to survive. Yet, despite it all, she was brilliant. Her mind was sharper than anyone I had ever met. I asked her once, "Why do you bother teaching me? You could be using your time to work, to make money." She smiled, her face smeared with dust, but her voice steady. "Because if I teach you, it feels like I'm still in school, like I never left." Her words pierced my heart, but secrets have a way of catching up. One day, as Emily was explaining geometry using cracks on the pavement, a shadow loomed over us. I froze. My father's voice cut through the air like a knife. "Sophia, what is going on here?" My heart pounded. Emily dropped the pencil. The world around us went silent. The air in Los Angeles carried that peculiar mix of ocean salt and car exhaust, a scent that clung to every street corner as if the city itself could not decide whether it belonged to paradise or chaos. It was early autumn, the kind of season when the sun still beat down fiercely by noon, but the evenings fell cool enough to make children pull jackets over their school uniforms. Along Sunset Boulevard, the billboards screamed luxury, yet just a few blocks away, the alleys whispered of hunger. This was the America of contrasts, and within that contradiction lived a girl who never should have been noticed, and yet who would soon change everything. Her name was Emily Carter. At 12 years old, she had the sharp, angular face of someone who had grown up too quickly. Her hair was dark, tangled, and usually hidden beneath a hood, while her eyes glowed with a brilliance that startled anyone who dared to look directly at her. Those eyes saw numbers in cracked sidewalks, lessons in broken bottles, entire stories in the patterns of neon signs flickering at night. She was not a student enrolled in any school. She was a wanderer of abandoned parking lots, a caretaker to a mother whose mind had slipped into shadow. and a survivor in a city that swallowed the weak without remorse. Yet, for all her scars, Emily carried herself with the quiet dignity of a queen disguised in rags. Her world was the underbelly of the city, the tents pitched beneath freeway bridges, the cardboard shelters tucked between dumpsters, the cold steel benches of bus stops that became beds after midnight. At dawn, she often found herself near the public library downtown, watching children hurry past with their heavy backpacks and bright sneakers. She never envied their possessions, only their access to the classrooms hidden behind those doors. Sometimes she copied lessons by ear, repeating fragments of English or math problems she overheard when teachers opened the windows. Her notebooks were scraps of advertisements, the backs of discarded receipts, anything with a blank surface. Her pencils were stubs scavenged from trash bins. And still, she wrote, because to stop writing would mean surrendering to the streets, and she had sworn never to surrender. Not far from Emily's world, just 6 miles west, in the gated calm of Beverly Hills, another girl lived a life so different it might as well have been another planet. Sophia Anderson was also 12, though no one would ever mistake her for older than her age. She was delicate, almost fragile, with blonde hair carefully brushed every morning by the housemaid, and eyes the color of pale glass that often drifted toward the floor whenever adults spoke. Sophia's father was Richard Anderson, a billionaire investor whose name appeared regularly in business magazines. Their mansion stood like a fortress, with marble floors, chandeliers imported from Italy, and gardens manicured by teams of workers. For Sophia, life was a carousel of ballet lessons, expensive tutors, and weekends spent at charity galas where she was expected to smile beside her father for photographs. Yet behind the polished surface, she carried a secret shame. She could not learn. Numbers slipped through her mind like sand. Words tangled together until she forgot their meaning. Every failed test was hidden from her father by tutors who feared losing their lucrative contracts. Every mocking laugh from classmates was silenced behind her perfect smile. The truth was cruel. Sophia was drowning in a world that demanded excellence, and no amount of wealth could buy her a way out. She longed for someone to see her not as a project to fix, not as a trophy to polish, but as a girl desperate to understand. It was inevitable that the two worlds, so violently opposed, would collide. Destiny often works that way, weaving together threads no one expects to meet. One afternoon, as the heat shimmered across the asphalt and the jacaranda trees dropped purple blossoms onto the sidewalks, Sophia wandered farther from her schoolyard than usual. She had fled the laughter of her classmates, who teased her after she failed yet another math quiz. Tears burned her cheeks, but she dared not cry where anyone could see. She slipped through the side gate and followed the sound of traffic until she reached a quieter street, lined with chain-link fences. And there, crouched near the corner, she saw Emily. The homeless girl was scribbling furiously on the back of a pizza box, her lips moving as she recited multiplication tables. Sophia froze, watching in astonishment. Emily's voice was steady, confident, even joyful, as though the cardboard box was a chalkboard and the cracked pavement beneath her knees a grand classroom. For a moment, Sophia forgot her embarrassment, her shame, even her fear of being caught outside. She stepped closer, heart thudding, the scent of gasoline mixed with roasted chestnuts from a nearby vendor, and over it all came the whisper of Emily's voice. 6 times 7 is 42. 7 times 7 is 49. Sophia's shadow fell across the cardboard. Emily looked up sharply, ready to defend herself against another insult. But instead of mockery, she saw a girl in a clean uniform staring at her with wide, almost pleading eyes. Sophia's voice trembled as she asked, "Do you really know that? Could you show me?" That question became the fragile bridge between two lives. Emily hesitated, her instinct warning her to push this stranger away. Yet something in Sophia's expression, so desperate, so honest, softened her guard. She nodded and tapped the box with her pencil stub. "Sit down. It's not hard once you see the pattern." And so, Sophia knelt on the dirty sidewalk, the expensive fabric of her skirt brushing against concrete, stained with oil. And for the first time, she listened not to a tutor, but to a homeless girl who carried the knowledge she craved. The city continued its relentless rhythm around them. Cars honked, vendors shouted, and the faint siren of an ambulance wailed in the distance. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson. Yet, in that small corner, beneath the humming of power lines and the scent of blooming jasmine, two girls bent their heads together over a piece of cardboard and created a secret world. It was a fragile world, born of need and curiosity, but it carried the seeds of something powerful. Emily soon learned more about Sophia. She was not cruel like the other students. She was gentle, awkward, and carried a loneliness deeper than any wealth could hide. Sophia confessed that she failed her classes constantly, that she feared disappointing her father, that she hated being the subject of gossip among rich children who whispered that she was stupid. Emily listened, and, for the first time in her own hard life, felt stronger than someone else. She was the teacher here, the guide, the one with answers. It gave her a sense of worth she had never known. Sophia, in turn, learned about Emily's world. She listened as Emily spoke of her mother, who sometimes wandered the streets, speaking to invisible figures, of nights spent huddled beneath bridges when the rain poured through every gap, of hunger that gnawed like an unrelenting animal. Sophia's heart ached, but more than pity, she felt admiration. Emily's resilience was a fire she had never seen before. She envied it, even as she feared it. How could someone with nothing carry themselves with such strength, while she, with everything, felt so small? The bond deepened quickly. Sophia began sneaking away during lunch breaks to meet Emily near the fence. She brought sandwiches hidden in her bag, offering them shyly before opening her textbooks. Emily devoured the food with gratitude, then explained fractions, verbs, and geography with metaphors pulled from the street. Pigeons became symbols for variables, traffic lights for grammar rules. Sophia laughed for the first time in weeks, discovering that learning could be alive, playful, even magical, when filtered through Emily's imagination. But secrets never remain hidden for long. Rumors began to swirl among the other students. They whispered that Sophia disappeared during lunch, that she talked to herself near the old fence, that she was hiding something. Teachers noticed her sudden improvement in class and asked which tutor her father had hired. Sophia deflected with nervous smiles, but the pressure mounted. Meanwhile, on the streets, Emily's absence during midday did not go unnoticed. Other homeless children sneered that she thought herself better now, that she was wasting time with a rich girl who would abandon her at the first sign of trouble. Both girls lived under the weight of suspicion, and though they clung to their secret meetings, the tension grew. On one particular evening, Sophia lingered too long after their session. The sky had darkened, and the streetlights flickered on. Emily insisted she hurry home, but Sophia hesitated. "Emily," she whispered, "what if someone finds out? What will happen to you?" Emily shrugged, trying to mask her fear. "They'll chase me away, they always do, but until that happens, I'll keep teaching you." Her words were calm, yet her heart pounded with the knowledge that discovery could cost her the only stability she had found. The seeds of conflict had been planted. On one side was the glittering mansion of Beverly Hills, a world of wealth and power, ruled by a father who demanded perfection. On the other was the fragile life of a homeless child who risked everything each time she crossed into the forbidden space. Between them stood a secret friendship, delicate as glass, waiting for the inevitable moment when someone would strike it and watch it shatter. And that inevitable moment was drawing closer with every passing day, though neither girl yet understood how quickly their fragile world would be torn apart. The city never slept, and secrets in Los Angeles had a way of surfacing under the relentless glare of its lights. Whispers have a funny way of running faster than facts. One moment, Sophia thought her secret meetings with Emily were invisible. The next, the school hallways buzzed with gossip like bees that had discovered a new hive. Some kids said she had a boyfriend hidden behind the fence. Others insisted she was meeting a witch, and one particularly creative rumor claimed she was plotting to run away and join the circus. If only it were that glamorous. The truth, of course, was far stranger. She was learning fractions from a girl who used pizza crusts as chalk. Emily laughed when Sophia told her about the circus rumor. "Well," she smirked, chewing on the last bite of the sandwich Sophia had smuggled out, "if you do run away, can I at least be the ringmaster? I've got the outfit already. Torn hoodie, shoes with holes, very fashionable." Her ability to joke about herself made Sophia both envious and relieved. Where Sophia drowned in embarrassment, Emily surfed it like a pro. But the laughter didn't hide the gnawing fear. Every time Sophia sneaked out, she imagined her father's piercing eyes catching her in the act. Every time Emily crossed the invisible boundary between street and school, she risked being shoved away by guards. Their world was stitched together with secrecy, and one careless tug could unravel everything. The tug came sooner than either expected. It arrived in the form of a man with a clipboard, the sort who carried authority in his very posture. He was a substitute security officer, filling in for the usual guard. Unlike the others, he didn't look sleepy or bored. He noticed things. And on a warm Thursday afternoon, he noticed Sophia slipping through the side gate with an odd eagerness, as though she was escaping a prison rather than leaving a playground. Naturally, he followed. Sophia reached the fence where Emily waited, sitting cross-legged with a battered notebook balanced on her knees. "Quick," Emily whispered, "today we conquer long division." Just as Sophia knelt down, pencil in hand, the man's shadow loomed. His voice cracked the fragile peace like thunder. "What is going on here?" Sophia's stomach plummeted. Emily jumped to her feet, clutching the notebook to her chest like a shield. For a second, no one spoke. Then, in an absurd burst of courage, Sophia blurted out, It's a tutoring session. She's my teacher." The man arched an eyebrow. "Your teacher? Out here? With her?" His tone dripped with disbelief, as if Emily had crawled out of a science experiment gone wrong. "Yes," Sophia said, cheeks burning, "and she's better than any teacher I've had." It was the truth, though hardly the smartest defense. Emily, ever the opportunist, added with a crooked grin, "Special discount too. First lesson free, second lesson costs 1 sandwich." She hoped humor would diffuse the tension. It didn't. The man scribbled something on his clipboard. "This needs to be reported." He walked away briskly, and both girls knew what that meant. Their fragile bubble had popped. Panic churned inside Sophia on her walk home. She tried to imagine the fallout. Her father receiving a call from the principal, the humiliation of facing him at dinner, his cold fury when he learned she'd been hiding her education with a girl from the streets. Emily, meanwhile, shrugged it off with mock bravado. "Don't worry," she said. "Worst case, they throw me out. I've been thrown out of better places, like the public library restroom, very exclusive club." But beneath her jokes, her hands trembled as she packed up her notebook. She had learned long ago that people with clipboards were never good news. Sure enough, the next day, Sophia was summoned to the principal's office. The room smelled of lemon polish and authority. Her father was already there, seated stiffly, his expression carved from granite. The principal cleared her throat. "Mr. Anderson, we've discovered something unusual. Your daughter has been receiving extracurricular instruction from a homeless child outside the premises." Richard Anderson's gaze swung toward Sophia, icy and unreadable. Sophia's tongue stuck to the roof of her mouth. She tried to speak, but only managed to squeak. Finally, she whispered, "It's true. She's helping me. She's the reason I've improved." Silence stretched. Then Richard laughed. Not the warm kind, but the kind that cuts. "So this is why I pay thousands for tutors? So my daughter can sneak out and sit in the dirt with a vagrant?" Sophia flinched. The word vagrant burned worse than any insult from classmates. She wanted to defend Emily, but fear sealed her lips. Emily, however, was not present to hear this condemnation. She was outside, wandering the edges of the campus, debating whether to run far away before the storm hit. Instead, she stumbled into an alley where a group of older boys loitered. They recognized her instantly. "Hey, Carter," one sneered. "Heard you've got a rich girlfriend now. Teaching her secrets?" Their laughter was cruel, edged with envy. Emily tried to brush past, tossing out a sarcastic, "Yeah, I'm opening my own prep school next week. Application's still open if you've got spare rats to pay tuition." Humor was her armor, but it didn't protect her when one boy grabbed her backpack and yanked it open, outspilled her sacred scraps, notes, half-broken pencils, the pizza box with math scribbles. The boys roared with laughter, mocking her makeshift school. Among the chaos, one paper fluttered to the ground, an assignment Sophia had given her for safekeeping. It bore the Anderson family crest in the corner. The boys stared, suddenly realizing the connection wasn't just rumor. Emily snatched the paper back, shoving it deep into her hoodie. But the damage was done. The secret link between street girl and billionaire's daughter had leaked into the wild, and gossip would spread like wildfire. That evening, as Sophia endured her father's icy wrath, Emily sat on the curb outside a convenience store, trying to tape her notes back together. A stranger approached, a woman in a navy suit with eyes sharp enough to slice glass. "You're Emily Carter, aren't you?" she asked. Emily stiffened. "Depends who's asking." The woman smiled thinly. "Let's just say I know more about you than you realize, and I know the Anderson family very well." She handed Emily a card with no name, only a phone number. "Call me when you're ready to learn the truth." Then she disappeared into the night, leaving Emily staring at the card as if it might explode. By the next week, everything had shifted. Sophia was grounded, her phone confiscated, her meetings with Emily forbidden under threat of expulsion. Emily found herself shadowed by suspicious eyes, both from the street kids who mocked her and from mysterious figures who seemed too interested in her movements. The stakes had risen. If they continued, Sophia risked losing her father's trust forever, and Emily risked more than ridicule. She risked exposure to forces she didn't understand. Yet the pull between them was irresistible. They met again, secretly, beneath the jacaranda tree that had witnessed their first lesson. Sophia's voice cracked as she whispered, "Emily, they'll ruin us if they find out again." Emily snorted. "Us? Speak for yourself. I was already ruined years ago. But you've got everything to lose. Maybe that's why you're braver than me." Sophia shook her head. "No, I'm only brave because of you." Their laughter echoed softly, fragile but defiant. Neither girl noticed the dark sedan parked across the street, engine idling, windows tinted. Inside, a figure watched, noting every gesture, every secret exchange. The woman in the navy suit had not lied. She did know the Andersons well, and she was about to drag both Emily and Sophia into a storm larger than either could imagine. Because sometimes, the universe doesn't wait for secrets to be confessed. It tears them into the open with brutal efficiency. And when it does, two girls, one rich, one homeless, will discover that their friendship is not just unusual, but dangerous. And as the sedan's headlights flickered on, flooding the sidewalk in harsh white light, Emily grabbed Sophia's hand, whispering, "Run." The night was heavy with silence, the kind that doesn't soothe, but suffocates. Los Angeles, so often a city of noise, seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for something inevitable. Emily and Sophia crouched behind the jacaranda tree, their chests rising and falling in frantic rhythm. The dark sedan idled across the street, its engine purring like a predator, deciding when to strike. Headlights cut through the branches, slicing their faces into fragments of shadow and light. Emily's pulse thundered against her temples. She had run from many things before: hungry men who wanted her food, drunk strangers with slurred insults, police officers tired of chasing shadows. But this was different. This wasn't just her survival anymore. Sophia's trembling hand was still in hers, warm, fragile, and entirely out of place in this world of cracked sidewalks and danger. "What do we do?" Sophia whispered, her voice breaking. Emily swallowed. She wanted to say something clever, something dismissive, but the words lodged in her throat. Fear was a taste she knew too well, metallic, bitter, but this time it mixed with something sharper: responsibility. She had dragged Sophia into a storm, and now the lightning was about to strike. The sedan door opened with a heavy click. Out stepped the woman in the navy suit, the same one who had handed Emily the mysterious card days earlier. Her heels clicked against the pavement with unnerving precision. She looked less like a stranger and more like an inevitability. Her voice was smooth, calm, as if she were greeting old friends rather than cornering two terrified girls. "Emily, Sophia, you shouldn't be hiding." Sophia flinched. "She knows my name," she whispered, clutching Emily's sleeve. Emily forced herself to stand, pulling Sophia up with her. Running wasn't an option anymore. Her legs wanted to bolt, but her mind screamed that flight would only confirm weakness. She straightened her shoulders, though her heart thudded so loudly she thought the woman could hear it. "What do you want?" Emily asked, her tone sharper than she felt. The woman smiled faintly. "The truth, Emily. The truth you've been kept from, and the truth Sophia has been shielded from. Your worlds collided for a reason, and that reason is larger than either of you can imagine." It sounded theatrical, almost absurd, but the gravity in her eyes silenced Emily's instinct to mock. Sophia's grip tightened. Emily felt the girl's fear vibrating like a trapped bird. The woman gestured to the car. "Come with me, both of you. It's time you saw what's been hidden." Sophia shook her head violently. "No, my father. He'll—" "Yes," the woman interrupted. "Your father knows me well. Too well. That's precisely why you should come." The name Anderson seemed to thicken the air. Emily had always sensed that Sophia's father was more than just another rich man. He was power incarnate. But hearing this stranger tie his name to secrets sent a chill crawling up her spine. Sophia looked at Emily, her eyes wide, begging for an anchor. Emily's instinct was to laugh it off, crack a joke, call the woman a melodramatic stalker. But beneath her sarcasm lived a deeper voice, one that rarely spoke. "This matters. This is dangerous. But it's also a door, and you may never see it again." "Fine," Emily said, though her voice trembled. "We'll go." Sophia gasped. "Emily." "We'll go," Emily repeated louder this time, as if courage could be manufactured by volume. Inside the car, the leather seats smelled foreign, too clean. The woman sat across from them, her eyes steady. The city passed by in blurred streaks of neon and darkness. Neither girl spoke. Sophia's fingers fidgeted with the hem of her skirt, while Emily forced herself to memorize every turn, every landmark, as if mapping an escape route in her mind. Finally, the car pulled into a gated compound on the edge of downtown. It wasn't a mansion, not in the glossy Beverly Hills sense, but it radiated secrecy. The building was plain concrete, windowless on the lower floors, humming with electricity. The woman led them inside. The air was colder, the kind of sterile chill that clung to laboratories and interrogation rooms. Walls lined with photographs and documents stretched before them. And at the center, like a shrine, was a portrait of Richard Anderson. Sophia's breath caught. "That's—" "Yes," the woman said. "Your father, the man who built empires. But empires are not built on money alone." Emily felt the ground shift beneath her. She stared at the wall, at documents bearing the Anderson name tied to charities, corporations, even hospitals. And among them, a file with her own surname, Carter. Her throat tightened. "Why is my name here?" The woman's smile faded. "Because your mother was once part of his world, before madness stole her mind, before the streets claimed her. Emily, you are not just a homeless child. You are a piece of his past." The words landed like blows. Emily staggered, clutching the back of a chair. She wanted to deny it, scream at the absurdity, but fragments of memory, her mother's incoherent mutterings about a man, about wings left in a car, about betrayal, suddenly sharpened with painful clarity. Sophia's gaze darted between Emily and the portrait. Confusion twisted her features. "You mean, Emily is—" The woman nodded. "Half of what you are, Sophia. A daughter of the same man." The silence that followed was unbearable. Emily's chest burned, her mind racing. Sisters? With her? With the girl who lived in marble halls while I slept on concrete? Rage surged, raw and bitter. She wanted to laugh, to hurl sarcasm like daggers. But instead, a single tear betrayed her, carving a hot path down her cheek. Sophia stepped closer, but Emily recoiled. Don't you dare." Her voice cracked, anger and grief entwined. The woman continued, relentless. "Your father buried this truth, Sophia. He cast Emily's mother aside when madness no longer suited his reputation. He erased Emily before she could even speak her name. But secrets don't stay buried." Sophia's knees weakened. She pressed her hands to her face, sobbing quietly. Emily's fury grew. Every hunger pang, every night in the cold, every insult hurled at her. Suddenly they had a name, a cause, Richard Anderson. The woman leaned forward. "Now you both must decide. Will you remain pawns in his story, or will you claim your own?" The question hung heavy. Emily's mind spun with contradictions. Part of her wanted to storm into the Anderson mansion, scream the truth, demand justice. Another part feared the weight of that confrontation. Would he even acknowledge her, or would he crush her with the same cold laugh he gave Sophia? Sophia reached for Emily's hand again, this time with desperation. "We can't fight him. He's too powerful." Emily's eyes burned. "Then why did fate shove us together? Why did I end up teaching you math under a fence if not to tear down lies?" Her words surprised even herself. She realized then that she wasn't just speaking for Sophia, or even for her mother. She was speaking for every insult, every night of invisibility. The woman in the navy suit stood, her heels clicking against the floor. "He is already suspicious. He will come for you both soon. When he does, your choice will be forced. Prepare yourselves." The ride back was silent, but not the comfortable kind. Sophia wept quietly, while Emily stared at her reflection in the window, barely recognizing the girl who looked back. She had entered the car as a nobody. She was leaving as a secret daughter, a living scandal. When the sedan dropped them near Sophia's school, the city had fallen asleep, but Emily could not. She walked the streets until dawn, her thoughts a hurricane. She remembered her mother's ramblings, wings in a car, a man who vanished, a betrayal. They weren't madness. They were fragments of truth she hadn't understood. The next day, Sophia was summoned again by her father. Emily followed at a distance, slipping past guards with the stealth that she had learned on the streets. She watched from the shadows as Richard Anderson's voice thundered through this grand hall. "I warned you, Sophia. No more games. No more disappearing acts. That girl is poison." Sophia sobbed. "She's my friend. She's my—" Richard slammed a fist against the desk. "She is nothing. And if you continue, you will lose everything." Emily's fists clenched. She wanted to burst in, scream her truth, but fear paralyzed her. She turned and fled, her breath ragged. Outside, the city's noise roared back, a cruel reminder of her insignificance. And yet, she wasn't insignificant anymore. The truth was alive inside her, a fire she couldn't extinguish. She felt torn between terror and defiance, between despair and determination. Her heart screamed that she had to act, to claim her place, to protect Sophia from the same suffocating silence. That night, beneath the jacaranda tree, the girls met again. Sophia's eyes were swollen from crying, her voice hoarse. "He'll destroy me if I keep seeing you." Emily's jaw tightened. "Then let him try. He already destroyed my life once. He won't do it again." The wind rustled the branches, scattering purple blossoms around their feet like fallen stars. For a moment, the world seemed to pause, holding its breath, and in that fragile silence, Emily whispered, "We have only one chance. Next time he tries to tear us apart, we fight back, together." The storm broke without warning. One moment, the mansion stood in its pristine silence, marble floors gleaming under chandelier light, and the next, doors slammed, guards shouted, and Richard Anderson's voice bellowed like a judge pronouncing sentence. Sophia stood frozen in the grand hall, her shoulders trembling, while Emily burst through the side entrance, breathless, her hair wild, eyes burning. The confrontation had arrived, and there was no turning back. "Emily Carter!" Richard spat the name as though it were poison. "You have trespassed for the last time." Emily's lips curled into something between a smirk and a snarl. "Funny. For someone who owns half the city, you're terrified of one girl who owns nothing but scraps." Guards moved in, but Sophia stepped forward, arms spread. "Stop! She's not an intruder. She's my sister." The word detonated like dynamite. Murmurs rippled through the household staff. Richard's eyes narrowed, the mask of control cracking. "You don't know what you're saying." "I do," Sophia whispered, louder now. "She is your daughter, too. You abandoned her mother. You left Emily to rot on the streets." Silence, then chaos. Richard's hand slammed against the table. "Enough!" His voice thundered, but behind the fury lay something dangerously close to fear. Emily felt her body shake, but the streets had taught her that fear was fuel. "You can erase documents. You can bury names, but you can't erase me. I exist. I survived everything you tried to erase." The air grew electric. Sophia clutched Emily's hand, and together they faced him. The billionaire, The man who commanded industries, now confronted by two children, one of privilege, one of shadows, standing as equals. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Richard ordered the guards, "Take her out!" The world fractured. Emily kicked, twisted, and spat sarcasm between gasps. "Wow, private security, what an honor. Careful, my rags might stain your fancy uniforms." She struggled, but the fight was futile. Sophia screamed, clawing at her father's arm. "Let her go, you can't do this." But Richard's face was cold marble. "I can, and I will." The scene cut rapidly. Emily dragged across polished floors, Sophia sobbing in her wake, the household frozen in horrified silence. Outside, the night air sliced like knives as Emily was shoved into the back of a van. The door slammed shut. The engine roared. Tires screeched. The mansion faded. Sophia collapsed against the gates, screaming Emily's name until her throat bled. Inside the van, Emily pressed her forehead to the steel wall, forcing herself to breathe. Fear clawed at her chest, but anger burned hotter. So this is how it ends, she thought, not with a choice, but with chains. But then, fate intervened. On the freeway, headlights blazed. A second car swerved, cutting the van off. Brakes shrieked, metal screamed. The van jolted violently, spinning across lanes. Emily was thrown against the side, stars exploding behind her eyes. The world turned upside down, then stopped. Smoke filled the air. The back doors burst open. Not guards, not police, but the woman in the navy suit. Her eyes glinted like steel. "Emily, come, now." Half conscious, Emily staggered out, coughing. Why are you helping me?" The woman's voice was clipped. "Because the truth is bigger than your father's fear. You were never meant to be hidden. And Sophia, she will need you more than ever." Flashing lights approached. Sirens wailed. The woman shoved Emily toward another car. "Go, we'll talk later. For now, survive." Emily collapsed into the seat. The city blurred past again, neon lights slicing through smoke and adrenaline. Her body ached, her heart hammered, but one thought crystallized: Sophia. I have to get back to her. Meanwhile, at the mansion, Sophia faced her father in raw defiance. Tears streaked her face, but her voice was steady. "You can take her away, but you can't erase the truth. She's my sister, and I will find her." Richard's eyes darkened. For the first time, Sophia saw something she had never seen in him before: fear, not of losing money or status, but of losing control. He turned away, barking orders, but his mask had cracked. Days blurred into fragments. Sophia, locked inside the mansion, replayed Emily's last glance again and again. Emily, hidden by the mysterious woman's network, patched her wounds and sharpened her resolve. And then came the twist. The woman revealed her name, Dr. Evelyn Carter. Emily froze. "Carter?" "Yes," Evelyn said. "Your mother's sister, your aunt. I've watched from the shadows for years, waiting for the moment he slipped. And now, he has." Emily's knees buckled. She had thought herself alone all her life, chained only to her mother's broken mind. But now, family, a hidden ally. Evelyn's eyes burned with fire. "Richard Anderson destroyed my sister. He nearly destroyed you, but with Sophia by your side, we can bring him down. The empire he built is rotten, and together, you will expose it." Emily's heart thundered. For the first time, her pain was no longer a solitary burden. It was a weapon. Far across the city, Sophia stared out her window, clutching the drawing Emily had given her. A crude sketch of two girls under a tree, one in rags, one in uniform, both smiling. She whispered into the night, "I will find you." And somewhere in the dark, Emily whispered the same words. The narrative quickened. Guards tightening security around Sophia, Emily training her mind and spirit with Evelyn, Richard tightening his grip on both worlds as the whispers of scandal grew louder. Each scene flashed like strobe lights, preparations, tears, vows, shadows moving in alleys, documents burned, secrets uncovered, until at last the city itself seemed to pulse with anticipation, as if Los Angeles knew that war was coming, not of guns and soldiers, but of truth against power, of daughters against the man who tried to own them. The camera closes on Emily's face, her eyes fierce, her jaw set. On Sophia's, fragile yet burning with courage. On Richard's, cracked with fear he can no longer mask. And in the silence that follows, Emily's voice cuts through like a blade. This isn't the end. This is only the beginning.